amnesia. Anybody who suffers any sort of head injury, it's quite common.
You write in the book about, you know, your short-term memory being so bad that you got great value out of your daily newspaper.
Yeah, I could read it like 10 times, because I'd read it once, and then put it down, and, oh, the newspaper, I'll never read that, that's nice. And then again, and the hospital I was in, I don't remember the first hospital, which was in Leeds. I was then moved to Bristol. I don't remember the move, but after a week or two, memories started becoming more clear. And by that time, I still had like a sort of 2-minute memory, and then it was gone. So they'd bring me around, it was quite a posh hospital. They'd bring me a menu for lunch.
That's very nice.
I know. And I'd read it, and oh look, cottage pie, that's my favourite. I'll have that, please. And then they'd arrive with it 5 minutes later, and every time, apparently, I'd just, cottage pie, that's my favourite, how did you know?
Even though you'd ordered it.
Yeah, 5 days I did this for, until eventually Mindy, my wife, said, look, just tell him it's gone, will you?
Now, when you came back to Top Gear, there was the whole question of would you be either allowed by the insurers, or by the lads, or by the producers to actually do stuff that might be in some way hazardous. Indeed, by Mindy, your wife, would she kind of want you to be doing this kind of stuff?
I think what we did was prove that we do take care, because the worst possible thing that could happen happened. I mean, that was a 300-mile-an-hour car, and the tyre blew on it, a front tyre, which meant it was going to flip, it was going to roll. We were tested sorely, and yet we weren't found wanting, because the precautions we'd taken meant, that's one here talking to you. I had the best crash helmet you can buy, the best overalls, the harness, the roll cage, the structure of the car. So we're not reckless. We do daft stuff. I mean, we're idiots, clearly, but we're not reckless. I've got 2 daughters. I want to be around for them, so I'm not going to do anything. There's me about to say I'm not going to do anything daft. That doesn't work, does it?
No, because that's what you do every week.
Reckless.
Yeah, speaking of doing daft things, though, we have a clip of a show I saw earlier in the year, which I thought was wonderful. You took a Robin Reliant.
Ah, yes.
And you decided the only place for all Robins Reliant would be
space.
Space.
Yes, it was ambitious of us, it must be said.
Yeah, and it had all these things, the rockets, the fuel tanks.
Well, we wanted to build a proper reusable space shuttle. You had to be able to take off, and then the idea was that the Reliant would break apart from the fuel tank.
As the shuttle does.
Yes, and then it would jettison those, go into space, do stuff, and then land, and you could use it again. It was a brilliant idea, fair enough.
No, because it actually, the Robin Reliant looks remarkably like a space shuttle, you know, from the distance.
Yes. A big deal, maybe from space, yes.
Okay, let's have a look at the climax of that particular
experiment.
It
went.
Yeah, how well it went. It was true.
As it turned out, it wasn't entirely reusable. we did slip up a bit there.
Yeah. But every day, who dreams up these wheezes? I mean, it's just great to be able to indulge your fantasies.
Well, one of the joys of the programme is, I mean, it's everybody on the show. Anybody comes up, from the most junior of researchers to, you know, the oldest, which should be Jeremy, obviously. So any of us can contribute ideas. I mean, it's a great job for researchers on the show, because they'll be, I'll be honest, a lot of the ideas happen in pubs. I don't know why that might be, but they do. And it's great, because there might be a 20-odd-year-old researcher, and they'll be in the pub saying, oh, I wonder how many motorcycles a bus can jump over. And then the next thing they know, they're actually out there doing it for real. So we can all chip in.
One serious question, and that is really about the messages that come from Top Gear about, you know, speed. And you all love speed. You have great fun, whether you're flying in a tornado jet, or whether it's a fast bike, a fast car. And, you know, people have concerns that the kids are getting the wrong idea, and all they want to do is get into some clapped-out Honda Civic and tart it up and boot down the road at 120 miles an hour, which is about the maximum a souped-up Civic might do, and they just might do someone harm.
No, there is. I mean, we are well aware there's an enormous responsibility there. All 3 of us, the presenters, are all journalists anyway. That's our background, and we do take that seriously. That's why we showed my crash, because it would have been easier for the programme, to be honest, to just pretend it didn't happen and move on. But we needed to show that if even in our fantasy world of TV Top Gear nonsense, things can go wrong. Yeah. And therefore, if there was a single kid who the next day was driving in their hatchback and thought, well, if it can go wrong for them on Top Gear, then maybe there really is a tractor coming around this corner the other way with a baling spike on the front. It could go wrong for me, I'll back off a bit. And let's not forget that on Top Gear we have a test track. So if we're doing really fast cars, we do it all on a test track. We don't
and
drive
everybody
on the road.
is going in the same direction.
Well, it's a very different environment. It's something we take very seriously, we do things, but also, and I know over here particularly, it is an issue with young drivers, with also the rate of accidents on the road. But there's no point in us condemning young people for wanting or believing they can drive quickly, for wanting to. It's in us, it's natural. You might as well shout at young men for looking at young women. It's what they do. You won't stop us doing us, like I'm young. You won't stop them doing it. So what we need to do is find ways of working with it sensibly to realise, yes, and you have to take it seriously.
Before you arrived at Top Gear, it was a much more kind of I suppose staged, sensible program. Yes, grown-up program.
Yeah.
And you would do things like look at 5 cars for 20 grand. What's the best? But that's what a lot of people want to know. I mean, if you test all these cars, if you had 20 grand, that's 20,000 euros, say about 13,000 pounds. What car would you buy?
Well, it depends what you want to buy. What I'd do is go and buy something old and ridiculous that would break a lot, but that would be actually worth. It should have cost a lot more than I would be paying for it, and it would be unreliable, as I've done all of my life. But it depends. I mean, the great thing now, if you're buying any sort of car, if you're buying modern, there are no real duffers anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody makes anything that's going to rust inside of a week and fall apart. They all work. So it depends what shape you want.
All right. Well, look, I've been reading your book, On The Edge, My Story by Richard Hammond, and a salutary tale, but a very entertaining one. Richard, thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure.
Brilliant. Thanks, Hamster. All right, would you like to meet Richard? Well, Richard will be signing copies of his book at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning at Eason's Bookstore on O'Connell Street in Dublin. So that's where to meet him if you want to meet him. And I'm